Do you want to know how to sculpt a 3D character, but you don't know even how to start? Or perhaps you already started but just failed dramatically? Or perhaps you are just too afraid about it?
What's wrong, McFly? Chicken?
Hey, my name is Marlon, and in this tutorial I will show you how you will sculpt this, just starting from a single sphere. Don't forget to subscribe and let's jump into it. So here are 3 things to consider when creating a character. Number 1, choose your style. So what style are you going for? Well, when I think about the style, I naturally thinking about anime. I especially like the character design and also the storytelling. But perhaps you want to go for something different. For the concept, I'm going to be choosing one of the artwork from Yuseon Kwon. He's one of my favorite 2D artists, and to be honest, everything that he does is amazing. More specifically, I decided to choose the motorcycle girl. Something that I really like about his artworks is that all of them have a lot of appealing. But what is appealing? Oxford Dictionary says that appealing is something attractive or interesting. Well, to sum up, we're going to be focusing making our character interesting. Number 2, shapes and volumes. So let's talk about shapes in character design. We're going to be using the Andrew Loomis method, which basically says that you can draw a head starting from the sphere. Let me explain you. So we'll start from a skull. Well, something more simple, even more simple than that. From there, you just need to clip the sides. And then if you focus on the side view, you are going to notice that you can divide the sphere in 4 parts. From there, you are going to make sure that you select one of the bottom quarters of the sphere and pull down the initial shape. Just by following this method, you are going to notice that you are going to achieve the head faster. And number 3, Zbrush or Blender?
Blender's nice.
Well, even if this tutorial we're going to be using Zbrush, principles apply the same, so please follow along. So let's start. Let's remember that we're going to start vanilla.
How about vanilla? Let's get vanilla.
So if it's the first time you are opening Zbrush, we're going to customize it under 30 seconds. Let's start. So set the range to 0 and create a new document. This way you are going to have a bigger canvas size. Now select the sphere and make Polymesh 3D. Now press T to enter edit mode. Dock the brush palette on the side. Now we're going to assign shortcuts to our main brushes. Let's use numbers for this. We're going to assign a shortcut for the standard brush, the clay brush, the move brush, by the way it is my favorite, the damp standard, and the edge polish. Now, let's assign shortcuts for favorite actions. We're going to assign a shortcut for isolate mode. I like to use Alt Q, and show polyframe. I like to use Ctrl F. Next, assign a basic material. Finally, save your workspace. Save the hotkeys and store configuration. So now we're going to start blocking out the head. Stay focused because right now I'm going to show you 3 tricks that are going to change your workflow forever.
Let's do it.
So first, we're going to make sure that we have our symmetry activated. From there, we're going to select the clip brush, and then we're going to clip one of the sides from the sphere. We're going to go to the profile view, and then we're going to select one of the quarters from the sphere. With our move brush selected, we're going to press S and adjust the size. Now we're going to push down what is the initial side of the head. Now it's very important, we're going to start loading our concepts, so we're going to get to textures and load them to the spotlight. If you press C in the keyboard, you will be able to start shaping the mesh. And now we're going to start giving more shape to that sphere. You are going to notice if we change the brush, we cannot sculpt on it. That's because we need to disable spotlight projection. Just by disabling it, you are going to enable all the brushes to sculpt while the spotlight is on. Tip number 1. We're going to focus on the profile view, especially on the nasal bone. Think about how the nose looks on an anime character. Normally, the nose has this nice curved shape. So let's try to focus on that when sculpting the face of your character. For the eyes, we're going to select the sphere and go to initialize. Now we're going to make it as low poly as possible. Once we're happy, we're going to make Polymesh 3D and then we're going to append it as a subtool. Now we're going to press W in our keyboard, and from there we're going to relocate the sphere inside the eye socket. It's going to be very useful if you enable transparency mode, so let's assign a shortcut to that one too. Select the similar brush, hover over one of the faces, go to Polygroups, and then select Polyloops. This immediately is going to create a polygroup across a polyloop. This is very helpful to isolate different areas. If you press Ctrl Shift, you will be able to isolate one of the colors from the polygons. Now we go to Polygroups and Auto Groups. This is going to assign a different group to areas that are not connected. Now we're going to assign some color, so make sure you fill the object. It's very important that you have your material and your color also enabled. Let's assign a hotkey to the color fill object. Once you're happy with the eye, we just need a mirror. Go to Subtool and get mirror. Now we just need to append a new cylinder and try to get the other shapes in place. And always remember, try to keep it simple. It's very important to keep the poly count very low so you can focus on the major shapes. Let's make a quick stop here. Something very important is keeping your poly count very low. Now let's select the clay brush and sculpt a little bump on the eye area. For the eyes, we're going to use a lemon as a reference. You can imagine how easy it is to sculpt eyes if you simplify everything to simpler shapes, like for example in this case a lemon. So just by doing that, you're going to notice that everything just comes faster. To get more subdivisions, you don't need to subdivide. You just need to activate the Sculpt Lips Pro on top of the bar, and then you naturally will get more subdivisions whenever you are sculpting. Now let's talk about the mouth, but for that we need to talk about the M shape. Strategy here is very simple. Just draw the letter M on your character, and from there we're going to extract where is the upper lip and the lower lip. Once you're all done with all of this, select all the subtools and hit Dynamesh. Now we're going to jump into one of my favorite ZBrush features, Polygroups. Polygroups have so much power. Let's jump into it. The process is very simple. You just have to mask the areas and press Ctrl W to mask the polygroups. So for the head, we're going to assign polygroups for the eye area, for the nose area, and also for the mouth area. This is going to allow finally the topology to follow those groups. Once you're done with the polygroups, just hit Zremesher to get the final topology. For the eyelashes, I'm going to extract the initial shape from a polygroup. Now I'm going to select the C Modeler brush. I will hover over a face and select Q Mesh, Polygroup Island. This will allow me to extrude the whole mesh. This way it's going to be easier to shape the eyelashes. For the eyebrows, it's even easier. We're just going to mask the eyebrow area and hit Extract. Okay, so now we finalize the head blockout. Now it's time to break the symmetry and start going for the character. Right now, I'm subdividing the character and already breaking that symmetry. Now, here is the key point I want you to remember. Our primary goal at this stage is to make our character appealing. While it might be tempting to obsess over getting the likeness just right, it's crucial you focus on the overall attractiveness of the character. So now, please follow along for this trick. We're going to be using Zbrush camera to improve that likeness. First, you can find all the camera actions under the draw menu. Before starting, I like to save my morph target. This is going to save the current stage of the mesh. This is very important. Take your time to adjust the mesh against the spotlight. Once you are absolutely happy with it and the position of your mesh, go ahead and save the camera. Make sure that you save the spotlight and also that you save the project. Otherwise, you're going to lose the camera position. Okay, stay there because right now I'm going to show you which are the best primitives and also which is the best sculpt process to get that body done. Starting with a sphere is great because it's easy and helps us to see the big parts of the body without getting lost in details. It's like drawing a stick figure before a full portrait. First things first, understanding how the body is put together is super important. A book I love that can help with this is Anatomy for the Artist by Sarah Simblett. It's full of awesome pictures and tips. We're going to keep things very simple. We're aiming to shape it into the big parts of the body. Think about the chest and the belly. Don't worry about the fingers or any type of body feature just yet. We got something that's starting to look like a bit human now, right? So remember, we're keeping it simple and not sweating the small stuff. It's all about getting the basic shapes first. So if you check, our sculpture begins to take a shape. Remember, sculpting is a process of refinement. So for the arms, we're going to use a cylinder. Think about the size of your sculpture and adjust the thickness of the cylinders to match the arm. For example, if your sculptor is a basketball player, you might want slightly thicker cylinders for those muscular arms. In this case, it's going to be thinner. We're going to duplicate by pressing Ctrl and moving the gizmo. For the hands, we're going to be using the Body Parts IMM brush, which is great for this kind of process. So here is the most important step. We're going to divide the body in different polygroups and duplicate the subtool. This method will help by the time we create the topology. The resulting mesh will follow those groups. Now we have the initial topology created, but as you can tell, the hands didn't come great, and to be honest with you, most of the time hands never come right from a Zremesher operation. To solve this, we're going to reuse the previous IMM hand brush that we created. So we're going to go ahead, select the previous duplicated subtool, and extract the hand we created by deleting the remaining body. Now, let's position the head by selecting the gizmo and enabling selecting all subtools. This way you can select or isolate the subtools you want to move in a single operation. Move the head to the right position. Once you're happy with it, we just need to make sure that the character has the right proportions. Now finally, we just need to prepare the head mesh for the last operation, so we need to make sure that the head mesh has a hole on it. So we're going to go to Simulator, Polyloops, and we're going to select one of the polyloops. Now we're going to get Auto Groups, and we're going to get that initial hole done. So let's merge our hands and arms, just by having our Simulator, and we're going to activate Bridge and Arc and Line. Now select the edges in both meshes. And there you go, you have the bridge made. And now I'm just going to repeat the same operation for the neck. You know, I absolutely love this method, because making topology in 3D is one of the most complex things. And just by doing this, you make the process faster. Now the most complex part is done, so now I just need to make sure that the body just looks more appealing. So I'm just going to take a look into it now. We're going to keep the brow very simple. We're just going to mask the area where we think the brush should be establishing, and we're going to extract the mesh. Just make sure that you extract the mesh with no thickness. This way will allow you to play with it and finally end up with a nice Zremesher operation. From there, we're just going to add the remaining elements. So for the straps, we're going to be using the Cure Flat Snap brush. This brush is very simple. Just adjust the draw size and draw the line. This way you can place each of them individually. Later on you can add thickness to it. For the hair, I wanted to simplify all the process. I created this IMM brush that you can download in Gumroad. It's very easy to use. Let's jump into it. So this brush is pretty simple. You just need to draw the initial line from root to the tip, and you will get the full strand. It works like any other brush with the stroke functionality, so it's very intuitive. For this brush, I created 5 different hair profiles that you can use on your demand. The good thing about this brush is that the profiles are already considering how an stylized hair clump should look like, so it's pretty much just drawing the hairlines on your character and then just adjusting them. You can see now the full process from the hair creation. So we finalized all the blockout, and now we're going to start jumping into appealness. Analyzing your skull goes beyond just any aesthetic appeal. It's about refining your technique and style and comparing against a 2D concept. Every piece you create is a step towards mastering your craft, and each analysis is an opportunity to learn and grow. Consider the balance, the flow, and the harmony within your sculpture. This is an introspective approach, not only improves your current work but also informs you from future creations. And don't forget to be critical with your own work.
Judge.
Remember, in the art world, creating your piece is just the beginning. The true art lies on the stepping back and analyzing what you have created, especially when it comes to the overall appeal of your sculpt. So now we're jumping into polypainting and rendering, and I'm going to give you 5 tips that are going to improve all your renders inside Zbrush. But first, we need to prepare our mesh. For the color painting, I decided to select one of the Redshift materials, but really, you can use any material that you want. So we're going to click in Subtool Master, and we're going to fill the material to every single visible subtool. Now as a starting point, I'm just going to select a base color for the body, and also for the document, I'm going to set to white to make sure that it kind of looks similar to the concept. So for the skin color, we're going to be using some color theory. Just by using these color gradients, it's going to be very easy to get that skin tone. So this color guide is made of 3 major colors. We have red, which represent the fleshy areas, blue for the hollow areas, and yellow are for all the areas that are close to the skull. Now, we're going to start painting with a low RGB value. This way, we're able to blend better the colors. And finally, we're going to adjust the color using the Adjust Color feature in Zbrush. Now, let's cover render in Redshift using a 5-step process.
Model render.
If you haven't done it yet, please go ahead and enable Redshift under the render settings. Also, make sure that you enable progressive render. This is going to make sure that your render kicks faster. Finally, you can increase that progressive iterations to improve the render quality. This will affect the performance depending on your machine specifications. Second step. To kick a full render, you only have to press Shift R. This is going to kick a full render. Now, if you want to be more specific, you can render just the region, just by pressing Ctrl R. Step 3. So I used 2 lights. The main one with shadows enabled, and the rim one with shadows disabled. Also make sure that you play with intensity. Finally, remember that you also can plug your own HDRI to affect the light scenario. Step 4. To be honest with you, I found materials in Redshift very tricky, and to be fair, they don't behave the same as different render engines. But I noticed if you set your subsurface scale to a value of 0.01, it kinda behaves well, enough to hold the concept. So now, let's talk about render filters inside Zbrush. This is probably one of my favorite features that not too many people actually talk about, and you can imagine how powerful they are. So first, to kick the render filters, you need to make sure that you have a finished render, otherwise they don't work. You can find the filters under render settings, PPR filters. Once you are there, you are going to find 12 different slots where you can apply whichever filter you want. Let me show you how it works by changing the background color. For that, I'm going to use the paint filter and apply a white color. Now, if you play with the mask, you're able to change which side of the character is going to affect the color. Finally, don't forget that your render size is going to be established by your document size, so consider that. And also, make sure that you get your render passes and finally composite them in Photoshop. And that's it! Don't forget to share with a friend and stay tuned for more content like this.